Hey everybody, my name's Angela and I'm making this video today about my laparoscopic hysterectomy 2-week so far journey. And I decided to do this because as I was researching for my own surgery, I had no surgery background except this little wisdom tooth pulled about 10 years ago. And so to me, I didn't have the experience of being put under or that I could remember recently anesthesia, anything about this type of surgery that was about to happen. And so I really looked for advice and wisdom and just all that I could in the few weeks leading up to my surgery. And I found a lot of helpful videos here on YouTube. And I thought that it would be helpful to share my experience. I feel like it's somewhat positive up to this point. Um, the reason for my surgery is because of a large uterine fibroid that I had had for probably at least 5 years. When I first found out about it, I thought it was a cyst. I went to get an ultrasound and they said, no, you don't have a cyst, but you have a pretty big fibroid. It's about 4 centimeters, which they equated to a small lemon. And and anyway, I couldn't believe that, but I didn't feel anything. I didn't have any symptoms at that point. So we just decided to check it every year. If it grew, we would address it then, otherwise do nothing. So that's what I did. And so for the last couple of years, I didn't have it checked. But recently, I had realized that I was having some symptoms, some pelvic pressure, just pain in the abdomen, some swelling. My pants weren't fitting the same. I will be 50 this year. So I thought that maybe the abdomen swelling was part of perimenopause because you hear about the belly fat and what we deal with perimenopause. So I thought, okay, that's what that is. Didn't really think of anything until the symptoms started to get worse and I started to get some back pain. And so I went and got it checked at my last annual. We scheduled a vaginal ultrasound to see if the fibroid had changed. And it certainly had. It had grown to 8 centimeters. So that's a substantial growth. I couldn't believe how big it had gotten because when you hear about fibroids and the symptoms that women have, it's usually heavy bleeding, painful periods, and since I was using the birth control pill, I didn't have any of that because that really helps alleviate some of that. And it did for me, certainly. So it was kind of a surprise. And so I said, what are my options? Because before the doctor had said, if you just do nothing, it's going to shrink during menopause and you probably won't have to do anything. Just leave it alone and see what happens. So that's kind of what I had planned to do before. But at this point, it had gotten so big, she said it was a grapefruit size. And so and she said to me, you don't want to keep it, do you? And I said, well, no. So hysterectomy was the option. And I scheduled my consult with the surgeon, felt very comfortable with her. I felt like she had enough experience that I felt comfortable moving forward with the procedure. Since my ovaries are healthy, I did decide to keep those. So my uterus was removed, my cervix and fallopian tubes. And so that surgery happened 2 weeks ago today. And I've got a couple of small clips from the early days of that, but just overall, I am happy to report that the recovery period, the first 2 weeks for me has been better than I expected. There was some pain a couple of days after. I did use the the pain pills for a couple of days, and then I was able to just manage everything with Tylenol and ibuprofen. The incision sites are sore. They were, and they are up until now. Not, it gets better every day. There was a situation where my bladder was sort of cramping and kind of painful before I emptied it, but nothing bad. And I didn't notice any bleeding. But when I went to my follow-up yesterday, there was blood in my urine, a small amount. So she went ahead and prescribed a antibiotic that specifically addresses the bladder and UTIs. So we'll know more about that when the urine sample comes back. But I just felt better having that because there was some discomfort and I didn't know if it was normal or not. Some of the things that I've experienced are fatigue. Some days you'll feel good. Some days you'll feel really overwhelmed toward the end of the day based on what you did earlier in the day. So I did a lot of laying down, walking around the house. A few days ago, so today's day 14, a few days ago, I drove for the first time and that was fine. I have a small pillow that I put under my belly above the seat, under the seat belt, and it's pretty comfortable. So that was okay. But when I got home, I was kind of worn out just from driving. And that's just kind of how it goes. Your body will tell you when to slow down. I've been pretty careful about lifting and not lifting. My husband's been fantastic, helping around the house and helping me where I need it. So I guess, some of the hardest parts of this recovery is doing nothing, laying around, because I'm pretty active in general. I do work from home. I haven't gone back yet, but even working from home, it's different being home and not working and just sort of passing the time with Netflix, YouTube, whatever, reading books. It is kind of some good downtime, but it kind of gets old after a while. And I'm usually pretty active. So um, I haven't had much experience with gas pains other than the first few days. And it was usually worse at night when I would wake up in the middle of the night. I'd walk around. Thankfully, I hadn't had problems with that because I'd heard about how that can be just huge and a big part of your recovery. And I didn't struggle with that. So that's a positive. Bowel movements. I had my first bowel movement 3 days after my surgery, and they've been pretty regular since then. One tip is to get yourself a small pillow. I bought a toddler pillow on Amazon, and it's been really helpful to just sort of press against my stomach when I have a bowel movement. It just alleviates any pressure, or it kind of just makes you feel good having that barrier there. It is a challenge, and that was one of my big fears, that I would have issues with that. So lots of water. I did the smooth move tea, not every day, but leading up to it, I did. I had to do Miralax the first couple of days, and just have a fiber-rich diet. Nothing too rough, not too many raw vegetables. But what's worked for me lately is having mixed berries for breakfast with eggs and some Greek yogurt. Keep it high protein. I had heard that a high protein diet is really good for healing with your tissues and muscles. So I like to think that that's attributed to my healing process. The incision sites are still sore, but they're healing well. The glue is still there after 2 weeks, which I'm fine with, because as far as I'm concerned, when I shower, I don't want to have an open, anything open to have access to those incisions. I want them to heal with the glue on as long as they can. I haven't really had any issues with depression or hormonal changes. I thought that with getting off the birth control pill, there might be some fluctuations there, but we're only 2 weeks out, so we'll see. And I will try to update everybody. I have my 4-week, I have another follow-up in 4 weeks, which would be my 6th week. And I'll probably update you at that point. But I want to say overall, it's just been a good experience. And I hope that this gives you hope, because everybody's different. Everybody's going to have different responses to anesthesia, swelling. It's just the way it is. But it's always good to hear some of the more positive stories. And that's what I was searching for when I was doing my research. So I hope this gives you kind of a glimpse. It's not too detailed, but I'll also put some clips, either intertwine them in this video or after, just to kind of show you, what it looks like to be post-op day 1, post-op day, I think it was day 3 and 4 that I did. I'm not positive, but I kind of lost track after a while. But anyway, I hope this helps, and I'll be back to share more.